Hello, Irina.
Hi, Wayne. Welcome back.
You?
Um, so this question came up when you were talking to Belinda, and you guys were talking, you mentioned how our actions can affect others. Like we can do something and say something, and somebody can be hurt through our actions. And it's true that actually we can hurt people. I mean, obviously, but somehow it wasn't obvious to me right before. And yet it seems like in this teaching, um, there's no personal responsibility for the hurt, or there could be like a compassion towards the hurt person, or responsibility in terms of like morality or the law, but the person doesn't feel like responsible for the hurt, right? Or do they?
Well, this is the key word in all of this is responsible. And so it really depends what you mean by responsible. Uh, in this teaching, we are we talk more about the underlying question of what is the uh, energy that is responsible for the action. So, and that directs your attention beyond your limited self, your body mind mechanism. Yes, the body mind mechanism is an apparatus through which things happen. And some of those things are beneficial, and other of those actions are destructive or detrimental.
Mm-hmm.
The key question in all of this is what is the source of the action? So we are pointing beyond the surface of the action because clearly Irina does the action.
Mm-hmm.
And Irina may well be punished or rewarded for an action.
Mm-hmm.
But what brings suffering in life is the sense that the action that I am executing, I am the source of. That brings suffering. The action itself brings pleasure and pain.
Mm-hmm. Right. When the action leads to good results, the suffering is not as apparent because it kind of feels good. And there's, like you said, pride, or like I'm so good. I'm this like great person, whatever. On the other side, then it's more apparent. Like you see the result and you're like, well, how can I have done it? And you kind of start reflecting and searching for that moment where it happened, where you did it or said it, and you look at it, and sometimes it's obvious that there's no other option, wasn't, but something is like, not in complete agreement with that, and like say searching for that moment where there was another way, or a possibility of another action, but then you're like, well.
So that thing that is not in complete agreement with the recognition of it simply happening is what we call the false sense of authorship. It is that claiming energy that claims the action. It is not in agreement with the sense that everything is part of a vast universal happening. It is the
Mhm.
claim that I am the source and thus ultimately responsible. And out of that comes suffering.
Mhm. Mhm. And the claim cannot release itself. Like there's nothing. Yeah. Because sometimes I can see the claim and it's obvious to me that it's claim, but it's like, okay, it's still there.
Yes.
Um,
And in that, there is pain,
yeah.
in the sense that it is still there because I was not spiritual enough to see it through, that I was not a good enough Advaita student, I was not pure enough, I was not blah, blah, blah. That's suffering.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, to me, it's like not conscious enough or something, aware enough. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right.
Fill in the blank, Karina.
Yeah. But it does seem to me if I do certain things, like if I meditate and I'm more aware, it's, I don't know, maybe it's an illusion, but it seems like it's less suffering or I feel better or there's more expansion.
And
Um,
why don't you meditate 24 hours a day then, Karina? And then you'll
that
feel
sounds great.
so much better.
That sounds great. That sounds
That's
amazing.
a simple solution.
I can try. There's sometimes it feels
Okay.
like there's some personal power where I do have some control over it. Like I can decide and like have an intention and sit and do it. And sometimes it's available and sometimes it's not. So it's
So what makes it available and what makes it not? That's the question. You claim it's you. You say, yeah, well, I have control because I am doing it. But is that true?
so it's more like, to me, rationally, I understand, like I'm in complete agreement with you that it's not me here, you know. It's like yeah, it's not me. It's the greatest power. It just decides whether or not I meditate. It's not me. I have nothing to do with it. But it's not deep enough, It's like, yeah, sure, it's a thought, but it's not like integrated. And there's nothing I can do for it to go deeper.
There's much you can do.
Well, yeah, I can. That's right. That's true. I can. But who's ultimately decides whether or not I do it? That's the question.
That is always the question.